Right,
Okay.
but you can
Can't
start
call
it.
Bob. Mike.
Okay, come on.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. We'll call this meeting to order, um, board workshop to order at 6:35 p.m. Mr. Rivas, would you lead us in a word of prayer, please?
Thank you, Father God, for these together this evening. Thank you for all the presenters and all the information we're going to gather. Help us make great decisions for the district, for all of our stakeholders, the community, our students, our staff. Father God, thank you for the means to guide us and protect this district for all evil, Father God. As we complete our business here and as we go to our final destinations this evening, Father God, just ask for your traveling grace, your shield of protection. In Jesus' name we pray.
And thank you, Mr. Rivas. Let the record show that all board members are present, with the exception of Mr. Darius, Provost Evans, and Ms. Candace Randall. Right, Dr. McCall, we'll move on to reports and discussion.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees. We have quite a few reports this evening. We will start with a biomanufacturing partnership and innovative course update with Mrs. Gallo.
Let the record show that Candace made her arrival at 6:36 p.m.
I'm gonna get really close because I've been saving my voice for tonight. But I'm excited to tell you about an amazing partnership we have with San Jacinto College for their biomanufacturing program. We're using it or we're working it through our P-Tech program at the high school. And we also have some other students outside of the P-Tech who are interested in the biomanufacturing partnership. And so I'm going to turn it over to our two friends from San Jacinto College who are with us tonight, Dr. Goat and Dr. Wow. So come on up. And then Ms. Clark, you all know Ms. Clark. She is our coordinator of innovative programs. She's passing out some of the handouts that they'll be sharing with you tonight.
Thank you so much. So I'm moving a little slow tonight. Had a blood clot in my left leg
no.
2 weeks ago, so I'm still here.
Amen.
Yeah, so thank you. But thank you guys for allowing us to be here on tonight. I'm gonna put this aside here. And we're here to talk to you about our biotechnology program. Again, my name is Jasper Doakes, and I'm the provost for the Generation Park campus, as well as San Jack Online. And so, but what happened is we had an opportunity to really go across the country. We went to Dublin, Ireland. We went to the North Carolina Triangle. We went to all these different places because we kept hearing about biotechnology and biomanufacturing. And so we started making this travel and start socializing. What would it be like in the Houston area to have biotechnology or biomanufacturing training? And so in doing so, we came across, we had a couple opportunities in the Generation Park area to land some deals. We didn't land. But one of the things we did learn from that coming in second in that project is that they told us about an organization named NIBRS, which is in Dublin, Ireland. And NIBRS stands for the National Institute of Bioprocessing Research and Training. And now, because we are a NIBRS partner in the southern region, which Chris will talk about here in a second, we're able to offer customizable corporate training, continuing education courses, certificates, and AAS, biomanufacturing technology. But you know that anything great doesn't happen because you just have, I use a football team, a linebacker only. You got to have a lot of people involved in the process. And we do. So we have a strategic leadership team led by our chancellor, Dr. Brenda Hellier, as well as Dr. Laura Wilson, who's our deputy chancellor and college president. But we have a wonderful strategic leadership team who is always thinking, if you would, outside the box. And so I'm very proud to serve on that team and doing this work. But we also have a board of trustees, as many of you know, behind the scenes who really guide us and lead us from a strategic perspective on bringing all things to fruition. And so leading this work in the board is our chairman, Dan Mims, as well as John Mooney Jr., who is our vice chair. Wonderful, wonderful group. Now, we have been showing up in the Aspen Top Prize winner for a very long time. My friends say, but we didn't do that alone. We do that because of partners like yourself. When we are allowed to be able to work together and to socialize what's possible when it comes to the educational space. And even this past year in Washington, D.C., and I know Chris was there as well, we were recognized as the Aspen Top Prize winner once again in 2025 as a semifinalist. And I just love to work in a place that allows us to be creative and to socialize ideas and to be able to go out into the atmosphere in the sense of our community and be able to have conversations with Dr. McCall and others in the school district space to figure out how can we provide education that will cause our youth to be able to thrive, not just be successful, but thrive in the future. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who has all the details of our biotechnology process.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invitation. Particular care, much appreciated. You said I had an hour, right? 1 hour?
No.
So I taught chemistry for many years, so I have a tendency to drone on, but I'll be mindful of time, for sure. So this program is going to be world-class, cutting edge, and we're just overjoyed at the opportunity to interact with this school district, in particular through that P-Tech dual credit program that we're going to be rolling out. The students are going to have an opportunity really that no one else is going to have across this country for a number of reasons. The first reason that comes to mind, and again, thanking Dr. Dokes, SLT, and our leadership team, the 8-figure investment the college has realized already for this particular training facility at Generation Park. And so it started when Amgen didn't choose us with a $2 billion investment here in Generation Park, which actually was the best thing that could happen, right? Because the future potential now vastly exceeds what that investment would have looked like, right, in our estimation. So with that said, there was much expansion throughout Houston. So cell therapy manufacturing, Houston will be the capital for that, right? And actually, this program is going to teach your students how to do cell therapy manufacturing. And I just want to briefly pause to explain what that means. Some of you may already be well aware of what that is. But the Texas Medical Center is the capital for cell therapy patients presently to treat cancer. So these are life-saving therapeutics that we can train a student in 2 semesters to manufacture, get a good paying job, and have a career trajectory that's just awesome, right? And so cell therapy, quite simply put, is if you have a terminal cancer patient, you can take their blood, we can isolate their T cells from their immune system, and then we can genetically re-engineer them to attack the specific type of cancer that patient has. And then that patient gets the infusion of their own T cells, and it fights the cancer. And depending on the cancer, it's highly effective. There's roughly 20 drugs that have been clinically approved for this. There's more than 100 that are in clinical trials right now. And so this is the future of medicine, and companies need technicians to do this work. And that's what this program sets out to do, is train these technicians. And so Dr. Dokes mentioned the abundance of research. We eventually got to the point where we announced we're going to go full force and make this a training facility here at Generation Park. By the way, I should mention there's a national mandate for this, right? So onshoring the manufacturing of therapeutics and the intermediates used to manufacture therapeutics is a major endeavor, coast to coast. And there's a bipartisan, bicameral federal mandate presently. Right? And so I should add that we're at the table for this. So we were at the White House 3 weeks ago. We met with a critical committee at the U.S. House to discuss what these training programs need to look like to support the future of our manufacturing capacity here in the U.S. So it's really exciting stuff. So right now we're governed by a chair of industry, or a committee of industry experts. So these are the companies right now that sit on our advisory committee. They were here just last week at our Generation Park campus. It's chaired by a gentleman named Lane Linden. He's the head of technical operations at CTMC, which is a cell therapy manufacturing company in the Texas Medical Center. There's maybe some names that jump out here. There's some large multinational global corporations. Examples would be Lonza. I don't see it on here. It looks like the formatting got a little wonky. Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies, among others. So some major companies. Dr. Dokes mentioned previously that we're one of the exclusive providers of the NIBR curriculum. So the NIBR curriculum is the global gold standard for therapeutic manufacturing technical training. So all of the companies that you could probably conjure up in your minds that are major pharma and biopharma companies, their people get trained in Dublin, Ireland. We're now an extension of that here in Houston, Texas. In fact, we're going to be the only NIBR training facility in the 11-6. Did I just call that? Yeah, that's fancy. I'm going to do that. So we are the only training provider in these 11 contiguous states, right? So interestingly, the anticipation in terms of onshoring pharmaceutical manufacturing, it's going to be in the Southeast U.S. That's kind of what the experts think. So we're kind of pre-positioning to be a preferred training partner. And we're only one of a handful of global partners that are strategically placed throughout the world to meet this challenge. Now, what we're really, really excited about is our stackable credentials, and in particular, how we want to integrate that into the dual credit P-Tech program with this school district, right? And so this just gets me really excited. I'm starting to get chills already, right? So we built this actually backwards. We started with an Associate of Applied Science degree. So in 2 years, students will be able to get the very best training in the nation in therapeutic manufacturing or biomanufacturing, right? And then we created stackable credentials, the first one being an occupational certificate that's only 15 credit hours spread over 2 semesters. And this is perfect for your high school seniors that are in your biomed path that we've discussed. And they're going to be able to get the skills, the knowledge, and the abilities that they need to get an entry-level position for some of these biopharma companies manufacturing these life-saving therapeutics. And upon graduation, they'll be competitive for entry-level jobs, right? They're also going to get a NIBRD stamp of approval, which is globally recognized. And then furthermore, should they have the hunger to learn more and get in more depth in biomanufacturing, they'll transition nicely to our associate's degree, and they'll in fact save time. They'll save almost an entire year pursuing towards that degree. We're really excited about this partnership. So we had the groundbreaking. Some of you may have been there a year ago, roughly a year ago. But gosh, we're so excited. If you haven't driven by it yet, right, on the campus, this was like the conceptualization of the biomanufacturing facility. These were pictures last week. So it's nearly done, right? We're waiting for the sign to be fabricated, and we're moving into furniture, and we're moving into cutting edge equipment that allows us to do this training. And so when we have the grand opening, which will probably be in the early fall-ish, we'd certainly love to see you there. And this facility is specifically designed as a manufacturing training facility. So if you were to walk into a therapeutics manufacturing facility, it's going to look like what our training facility looks like. So the kids are going to get cutting edge training, nothing like it in the country. So I think that was it. For me, I think I'd kick it over to you, right?
Well,
Yeah, there you go. Of course.
all right, so good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I am going to talk with you about, my partner, Becky, she is not able to be here tonight, but I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we've been working on throughout the course of the year.
That's for me, that I go too often. Were you writing that all down?
Okay, so what we've been working on throughout the course of the year, particularly the student-facing portion of this work. So, focusing on student recruitment, throughout the course of the year, while we are working on this, building crosswalks, visiting the campus, learning more, understanding the program, we wanted to provide our students with enough knowledge and build excitement so that eventually they can make a well-informed decision that this is a great place for them. This is a very particular program with a certain skill set and a certain maybe demeanor that you would say that is this particular program. And so we spent a lot of time working on that with the students. And so to begin, back in the fall, we took a trip to San Jac Central, or no, San Jac Generation Park campus first. That's where they provided us with a rotation. We learned all about the program. The students got to see the labs. And they heard from Dr. Nicole Bradley, who really talked to them about what biotechnology and biomanufacturing is. And so from there, these students these were all 10th and 11th graders in our biomedical courses. From there, we provided some more informational sessions within those courses during the school day to answer their questions, talk a little bit more informed, more excited. And then recently, in the spring, we took them to San Jacinto South campus, where they got to experience the actual program and labs and equipment that is in place at South that they're working on bringing to Generation Park. And so the students that went and opted to go on the field trip were very excited for that experience. It was very hands-on. These are our students and their equipment that they're interacting with. They were able to interact with students, with professors, and ask all of their remaining questions of Dr. Bradley. And they talked at length about the stackable credentials that you guys spoke about already. So having the option to complete the level 1 certification at the end of their senior year, enter the workforce, or continue on with their education and pursue further credentials in the year. So from there, we asked our students to submit interest to us. If they are feeling like, yes, this is what I want to do right now, we asked them to turn that into us, and we got a list of students. And from that point, that's kind of where we are right now. So our next steps are that the students will do a program application through SanJack. There's an interview process, and that interview is not necessarily to determine if okay to get in, more so for us to just talk with them and hear why they want to be a part of it, and kind of ask the questions that will help them determine if, yes, this is right for me. And then through the interview process, we want to provide a parent informational session. Since this is a new one, we want to make sure our parents are well informed for our students, that everyone's on board and has the opportunity to ask all the questions. And then, if it all goes well, our first class for these kids would begin in the summer. And then these students will be seniors that will continue those initial 15 hours of coursework throughout their senior year. So that's the first group with plans to work backwards for our juniors and our sophomores.
Okay, so of all that recruitment that Ms. Clark and Ms. Gillespie did, we have about 14 kids who are going to be seniors next year who will actually be a part of this program. What's cool about that is they qualified for, 86% of them qualified for the SanJack FAST scholarship. What that means to us as a district is zero in tuition for the student or for us, because those students qualify for free or reduced lunch. And so 86% of them will be able to be a part of this global experience at no cost. Sheldon ISD will cover the cost of books and any instructional resources, and that's typical of dual credit with scholarship. Now, once they graduate, then they're eligible for the SanJack Promise Scholarship. So they could go all the way, and along the way, these kids who are earning the 15 hours in that occupational cert, they're also earning some credits that will go towards the AAS as well, because they're taking dual credit English, and they're taking other dual credit courses, dual credit math, that aren't a part of the original 15 hours in this program, but will still be able to count later on towards the AAS degree. So they'll be able to take that learning and then continue their learning with the SanJack Promise Scholarship to continue moving forward through the level 2 and the AAS degree. So what else do we need to make this a big success for our kids? There's one course that the college offers that we have to crosswalk back to a high school course to put on their high school transcript. And it's about quality assurance. And so we looked at that college course. It meets all of the standards of the innovative course, which is part of our innovative courses under the CO22 table for courses we can choose from for high school graduation. And the name of that course is Quality Assurance for Biosciences. So we have to have board approval to have that innovative course be a part of this pathway, all the way from the occupational cert to the AAS degree. And so that will be an action item for the board to determine on May 20th. And so we're going to pause right now to see if you have any questions from anybody in the room. That was a lot, but we are so excited. When we heard about this, Dr. McCall and I said, we got to get him back here. We met at
Get them
board
here.
meeting, and I was like, we're in the back door of Generation Park, and we already have a biomedical pipeline.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense, and it's so exciting. And I can't wait to tell everybody that we're the first ones. Okay, but any questions?
So this will be a part of the CTE program.
And this is a CTE program, yes, it is.
Will they have, help with job placement after they finish?
It's a great question. So we're really tightly knit with our industry partners. And we have staff presently that identify internship opportunities as well as career opportunities, and they make direct contact through our network with those companies. And so right now we have a cohort of 20 students at the South Campus, and they are very much getting preferential treatment, but it's really by virtue of the quality of the training. So that beautiful picture of that student that was at that instrument, so that instrument's used for cell therapy manufacturing. And it's like a $200,000 piece of equipment. And they're gonna learn how to operate that. And once they have that on their resume, they're a shoo-in for getting a position, because you can't really get that training anywhere else. So we feel like the training alone will get them their career jump started. But we do, it's a great question, we do have direct connectivity to all of the industry partners. Yeah.
Are most of the jobs in the Houston area, or will they have to relocate possibly? What does the job market look like in this area?
Yeah, so right now, the Houston market, so there's a number of companies that are based out of Houston. They're small to mid-cap size companies. They're hiring fairly continuously, right? Because they're CDMOs, so most of them are contracted development and manufacturing organizations. Big pharma company comes to them, says, we need you to manufacture this amount of this therapeutic for a clinical trial, for instance, right? That dictates a lot of their hiring rhythms, but we're lucky that we have large multinational companies here in our region. So they're so large that they're kind of just always hiring. And what we anticipate is major investment far beyond what we currently have in Houston. So it's our expectation that Houston will be a biotech, biomanufacturing hub, potentially one of the largest in the next 5 to 10 years. So
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, one last thing to point out. This is a white coat ceremony for our current biomedical students, sophomores. So when we talk about having a pipeline of students that we could introduce this to, who could select this as a career, they're right here, and they're excited. So thank you all for
I appreciate it.
tonight.
Thank you all so much.
thanks so much. Yeah, thank you.
That's exciting.
You want to apply?
Hey, hey, we get that all the time. Yeah.
I want to change my Don't be surprised if I'm over there
We
registering.
look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much.
Next, we'll have instructional materials, and that'll also be with Ms. Gallo.
Hey.
Thank you.
So any instructional materials that we want to use for the upcoming year that are $50,000 or more, we need to bring to the board for board approval. And so everything that I'm going to share with you this evening,
Thank you.
so everything I'm going to share with you would be instructional resources that we're going to use to allow us to use in the year. These are all things pretty much that we're sharing with you as renewals. So these are materials that we've already been using. We have an instructional materials allotment. So that's a sum of money that comes to us from the state. They haven't shared with us what that allotment is going to be for next year, but we already know what materials we need. And so we need to go ahead and start preparing for that, so that we have the material and access to them when the school year starts. First is from McGraw-Hill. And so as an action item on May 20th, you'll see McGraw-Hill in the amount of $176,701.97. That's going to take us K through 12 with our reading program. Over online review, we still have a lot of the consumables and stuff. And so, and some of the hard copies. So really, we just need the online access for next year. That's a 1-year renewal. Next is our need for curriculum associates. That's going to be what you see here is iReady. That's for language arts and math. So that takes care of our screeners, like dyslexia. That's approved by the state. We have a certain category that we can choose from. That takes care of our diagnostics to see where our students are academically, if they need remediation or if they are ahead of grade level. And it takes care of our math resources for K through 8. We started using iReady this year with math, and we've seen some great improvements already with the level of rigor in the iReady resources. So that's $538,727.60. Okay, then we started using Carnegie Math for Algebra 1 last year. By the way, already is a renewal. We started using Carnegie last year for Algebra 1 in 8th grade and Algebra 1 at the high school. So that's why you see grades 8 and 9. It includes some on-site professional learning. Last year, or this year, I should say, Carnegie was not considered part of Blue Bonnet. And you may have heard Blue Bonnet in the news. It's what the state is saying, hey, if you use this, there's not going to be much of a cost, or you'll get a reimbursement if you use this product. Next year, Carnegie Math will be a part of Blue Bonnet. And so you'll see here, I have a total of $57,333 for using Carnegie Math. But if you look down at the bottom, we're going to get about $12,000 back, is what we see in reimbursement from the state, because it is a high quality instructional material. Also part of Blue Bonnet. Okay, Eduphoria, we do so much with Eduphoria. Eduphoria takes care of our teacher line question banks when we do assessments like our district curriculum assessments throughout the year. It has a data portal where we store student data and we can see which students are progressing in each one. It takes care of our employee evaluations. That's where we house up. And then if we want to do any internal forms that we send out, it has a forms-based application for that. So that's any kind of coverage and everything that's. And then we have credit recovery. This is the only one up here right now that is a 3-year renewal. So, you know, our subscription is run out. So we need to renew it for next year. And those are all of our online courses and tracking systems for kids who need to complete credit recovery. And you'll see the cost there is over $103,000, but it is a 3-year renewal. So we get the best price when we do Edgenuity at 3 years. We'll end up paying a lot more if we did a 1-year renewal. So anything that the state is going to give us in terms of reimbursement, we have to pay up front, and then it comes back to us. So that's why what we're asking for in terms of action items on May 20th is the full amount, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss actual reimbursement to the state gives. So in summary, and then lastly, early childhood with Fueling Brains. This is the first time you've heard Fueling Brains, so this is a renewal. We've seen some great improvement with our kids in terms of their executive functions at the pre-K level. We had a whole group of people just go in with a drum line. We had the cheerleaders. We had Pantherettes. We had all these people in the room screaming and yelling and going in and giving teachers their teacher incentive allotment notification. So we made all this hoopla. Kids got around us and took a picture, and we're still standing there talking to the teacher, and they went right back to their stations and went to work. And I turned to somebody, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's working. Like, you know, you see it every day, but just to know we did all of this upheaval in the instructional day, and then they were like, yeah, it was good to see y'all. We took a picture. I got work to do. And so that's the kind of development we need to see there. And then also, that pre-K level is our curriculum for pre-K. We rolled it up to kindergarten, and so we're still using the executive functions piece of that, the assessment to see where the kids are, and some of the professional learning, including when we need behavior coaching for our littles who really need it the most. And so you see the total there for Fueling Brains, and that's a renewal, so nothing new there as well. And then you see here, which is the summary of the action items for May 20. Okay? Well, once again, I wish I had the number that we were going to get the reimbursement or in our total allotment. But, you know, we don't have that yet. But these are things that we have to do business and teach kids. Any questions?
We don't get a hard copy.
We'll have some consumables for the little kids, particularly at the elementary level, but at the upper grades, textbooks.
Yeah, I mean, that's all been outdated.
Right.
To the web stuff.
There's a handful of CT.
Some CTE,
Handful.
some advanced placement classes.
That freed up a lot of closet space for us.
It
I
does
get
free
it.
up a lot of space. You go into a textbook one now and it looks really different. And then even at the college level, it's all about the access code, you know? We used to house the college books in our book room, but most of the classes are using access codes, particularly in the CTE realm. Yeah. I will say, I miss those textbooks, Mr. Reeves. They took space, but they cost a lot less. Anything else? All righty.
All right, there are no questions. We can move on to the safety and security intruder detection audit findings. Dr. Dearman and Mr. Brad.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And as we mentioned, we're gonna give you a report on our intruder detection audit. We're just gonna give you the surface information. If there's any additional information you all need, we're going to discuss in closed session because of the nature of the security. And I do have a colleague with us in the high school supporting this effort. And I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Security and Emergency Management, Ms. Samantha.
Thank you. Turn that over to me. All right, welcome. Good to be here. So we're gonna go over an intruder detection audits. And I give you a little review of what they are, so we have a better understanding of the findings and how they affect us. And more specifically, we'll talk about King High School today. They had an intruder detection audit, or IDA for short, on April the 1st. So the way it comes in, the Texas School Safety Center, on behalf of TA, conducted an audit at King High School on April the 1st. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss the findings. Again, I'll give you a brief history so everything makes sense when we talk about the different phases. But for the most part, we'll be talking about the findings, the plan we put in place, and what we plan on doing going forward. And again, with these audits, the purpose of the audits are to strengthen our defenses. A lot of times it seems like an I got you. And I know just coming from a campus or being at a campus, sometimes it seems like, it's an I got you kind of thing, but it really isn't. It's pretty peaceful. We work with the people throughout the year. They come to all of our campuses, but every now and then they will identify something that we need to work on. And that's pretty much the whole point of it. It's not you fail and now you have to spend a lot of money or you have to, you're in timeout or anything along those lines. So with the detection audit process, there are 4 phases. The first one is the intruder detection audit. So Texas School Safety Center, on behalf of TEA, the first thing that they try to do is they try to see if they can gain access to your building by just walking in. Now they don't climb over fences or try to do sneaky things and hide behind cars or anything like that. But if the door is open, they'll go in. Or if somebody walks out and they don't secure the door behind it, they'll walk in. If they're able to do that, phase 1, you fail. They will still continue to do the other phases, but that is the way you fail phase 1. Phase 2 is an exterior door audit. Likewise, if they can't get in that way, they'll go by and they'll check several of your doors. Now, some of our campuses have over 50 doors, so they don't check every door. They just do a random sample. They go by and check the door to see if it's secure, if it's working correctly, if it's propped open. Phase 3, they do a classroom door audit. They go through the campus and they check to make sure that the doors are secured in areas that have students. So if a teacher's in the room, no students are there, and they have the door open, that's fine. But any space that has students in it, that door needs to be locked. And if it's not locked, it will constitute a finding, and it'll also be on our report. And then the last thing they go through and they check our weekly exterior door audits. And it's mandated that we keep up with those each week to show what's going well, what doors weren't working, when did we fix them, those type of things. And we have a safety binder that's kept in the front office of each school. So our folder was immaculate. So how do we do? Again, this is specifically for King High School. We have the reports at all of our campuses except for 2 at this time. In phase 1, the intruder detection audit, we passed. They were not able to gain access to our building, so that was great. In phase 2, with the exterior door audits, in that particular phase, we failed. We had 2 exterior doors that were found to be broken. and one exterior door is propped open with a door stop. So because those doors were not working correctly and the other door was propped open, we failed phase two. Again, if you fail, they keep going, they go through all of the phases. So at phase three, they did not find any interior classroom doors that were open. They were all closed and shut like they should be. And on phase four, they didn't find any infractions in our safety binder. They were all neat, up to date, as they should be. So now what, you'll see a lot of words on the screen. I'm definitely not going to read all of the words to the screen, but when you have findings or you find things that are not the way they should be, you have to take action. So these are the TA requirements. The first one is you have to conduct a live training section with the staff and substitutes. The key word is and substitutes. That happened maybe 3 years ago. There's a really big push that whatever you do safety-wise in your school, you have to train the substitutes as well. So we use ESS. So all of the safety trainings that we do at the beginning of the year, I also get with the ESS manager, which happens to be one of our former students. And we get that information to her. She gets it to the substitutes. They sign it. They watch it. They sign off on it. So we make sure that they have the training. And this is no different. They have to have this training as well. We had to develop a plan of action on how to improve school safety. Work very closely with the high school, with Dr. Howard and Ms. Bennett. We put a really good plan in place and did some things that we haven't did before, but I think they'll help, which we'll talk about a little later on. We have to provide public notice to post it on the board agenda that we are discussing the finding, which is what we're doing today. So that'll be on this agenda and on the May 20th agenda. And then the other thing is we have to review findings at the next safety and security meeting, the district one, which we did on April the 11th. So we went ahead and shared that with our district safety committee on April the 11th. So we've already taken care of that. So here are some of the highlights and some of the things that we talked about with the staff and the substitutes at King High School. We just made sure that for them to ensure that exterior doors are closed and locked when you enter and exit the building. Again, if you have the door open, sometimes with the doors, they have what we call a slow swing. And if you don't make sure the doors close behind you, it may not close all of the way. So we just, hey, it's very important when you go out of somewhere or if you see the door open, close it. So we just reiterated that with them. We also ensure that if you are in a classroom, to make sure if you have students, that door to that classroom needs to be locked. And, you know, that's always a battle. You know, people, oh, I want the door open, you know, I want it to be open and, you know, my class in inviting space. So you understand. I used to teach too, but it's a different day and time. You know, when you're in the classroom teaching, those doors need to be closed and locked. We talked about conducting weekly exterior door audits, which we already do. So prior to this, just so y'all know, TA requires that we as a district, that our campus, once a week, they have to walk and check every exterior door on the building and report back. So we do that as a district. We turn all those in by Monday, 12 p.m. because if something is off or something went off on the weekends, you know, we rent out our facilities. We need to know Monday so we can get them fixed. They turn it in to Dr. Saeed and myself, and we make sure that they get fixed. So we have already been doing that. And in addition, our SROs, they check our exterior doors 2 times per day. They check it in the morning and afternoon. So we've already been doing this, but, you know, we just want to bring it up. We report faulty exterior doors and interior doors. They need to report that to Ms. Bennett at KHS. From there, she puts the incident and incident IQ. It goes straight to Dr. Saeed. They text me, and we work together to make sure that it gets done. We don't sleep on it. We don't say we'll get to it Wednesday. If we have a broken exterior, interior door, we take care of it on that day. Another thing is just directing visitors to the front office. Sometimes you see a smiling face, and you're like, oh, yeah, they're just here for so-and-so. And
you may let them in or whatnot. If that it happens to be an auditor, then that's a fail, and which could be worse if that's a bad person, then we just let them in our school. So we just reiterated, anytime you see somebody that doesn't have a badge, no matter what they say, you walk them, not just direct them, you walk them to the front office. And that's very important because we get busy. Sometimes we say, yeah, the front office is around the corner, and they never make it. So we instructed them to walk. And then just the last thing is just ask questions. Why are you here? I notice you don't have an ID. Do you need an ID? Do you need to know what the front office is? Those type of things. And that's mostly about everything we need to say about audit. Do y'all have any specific questions that me or Dr. could be?
The only question I have is, when y'all do the safety training, is it on a, annual or is it monthly? Because sometimes we'll do it at the beginning of the year and we forget about it. So how often are you guys reminding the teachers and the staff about, this audit coming? Because I know around this time of year is when they come out. And so were you guys, I know y'all have y'all stuff together, but, did you kind of give the teachers a heads up, like, hey, y'all, make sure, or go over the training again?
Yeah, so, and I know you can answer to that more as a campus, but I know, at least at the, at the district level, like you said, we train at the beginning of the year. We give out reminders, each week in the Sheldon Insider, which we do read. And so we do get that information out in that way. And I know campus-wise, I know they have different trainings.
So in our weekly newsletter, we always have a spot for safety. And every day that we do the announcements, we go through and we reiterate the importance of making sure that doors are closed and locked. So that is a daily announcement that we do.
And also, like he mentioned, the insider, when he gets the notification that we are on their list for that month, it comes through Dr. McCall, and we do let the principals know we're on the list for this month. So there's a reminder, we're on the list for May to be audited, let's get ready.
I will say we've been on the list every month.
Every month.
Every month. And I don't know why they want to bother us every month, but they get us every month. And so this was certainly something that, it's not the norm, but we know that we have to work through it. It's our largest facility and lots of doors, interior and exterior.
I know it's random, but we get it, everybody has to get it done every year anyway, so. I get
Yes,
that.
so all of our campuses, each year, they come to each campus. So for example, we're in May, we only have 2 campuses they haven't visited. So it's kind of like, hey,
Okay,
They're coming.
they may come in May, but they will come in May. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that sometimes we forget, and, issues with doing things in a normal fashion. Just to make sure that it's retraining and retraining.
So the campus audited, how was there any follow-up done to determine who propped the door open or how long the broken door had been broken, that they happened to be there at that moment to catch it at that campus?
Yes, so we have 3 different doors going on, right? So one door, of course, we know which teacher propped it up. So, that's a campus issue, and they've already worked on that. Another one of the doors was at the indoor practice facility. So, according to the verbiage, they were going, they tell us we're going to come and check your school. So, the facilities are generally not areas that they go to. They stay to schools. So they went to, and it just so happened that the door that they went to, the indoor practice facility, happened to be broken that day. So we put in a work order and we got it fixed right away. And then the other door was one of those doors that we talked about as slow latching, right? So they checked it on Monday. The constables checked it twice. But if you go to the door, it's locked. And if you open it and you let it go, it'll close. But if you say you're opening and you start talking to somebody and you let it go and it's only a few inches, then it, in that particular day, that's what happened. It didn't close all the way, so it was open. So we had our maintenance guys to go and fix it that day. Once we find out. So, that's kind of you know, the things that we work with at the high school, they have 68 interior doors on the main building. And then you have about 3,800 people in and out 24/7. You know, the mechanics, every now and then they let go. We have to, you know, fix them. You know, they're just that particular time, you know, was bad timing.
So that means you're gonna get it right the next time. And if you don't get those, that's why I said it's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Next, we'll have bond and facilities update with Mr. Webster.
Evening. First, let me tell everyone, thank you for coming out last week to the topping out ceremony. The fish was great, the dust not so much. Okay, I know the wind was blowing. But we are making great progress at that building. And so this is one of our aerial views of the building you went through, and you'll notice that we are moving into section A, B, C, D, and E. We've already worked through F through L, that's so our CTE part. So our CTE wing is here. This is your academic academies, your STEP, your PSL, your ACE, your FBL. Remember, early college, STEM will still be at the high school. And then as you move here, you'll have your office areas moving down, gym, fine arts, kitchen, special ed. So we're really excited. They've been continuing to work on the exterior facade of the building. This is part of the academy. This is now pretty well closed in. The roof, really good. I got to climb up. I didn't climb. They took aerial photos. And then they've been putting up the exterior covering on this side. We walked it again yesterday, and they have finished this whole wall. So really happy with the work that we're seeing. We are meeting with them weekly during our OACM meetings to stay on task. And this is the part that you saw when you were inside. And so that's where we're at as far as our 9th and 10th grade. Now I want to bring you up to speed on a number of items that are in your informational packet tonight. So when we moved kids out of the middle school, the old King Middle, to the high school, and then the next year when we opened it as the 9th grade, Harris County felt that there was a function change, so they required that we put in a generator. We have already purchased the generator. We had to submit a plan to Harris County, and now we need to get it installed this summer. So we went out for bids on that. We received 2 bids on that. And so we are able to move forward with one of them because they're a member of a co-op. I will tell you that getting bids this time was difficult. Most of the companies, they have their summer projects and they have big projects. So we were able to find someone who's on our choice partners. We get a discount for that. So that new generator installation for the entire King 9th grade and case came in at 1.1 million. They will have to go in and do a lot of electrical work at that building, connecting that to the coolers, to all of the exterior, the exits, to make sure that kids can leave the building if they ever went off. And then even generator stuff for the elevators. Okay. The next one is KHS power for MDF, IDF rooms. So the high school, if the power goes off, those MDF, IDF rooms, that's your technology server rooms, the power goes off there. And so technology has asked that we put in generators, backup generators for those areas. So that's an action item on May 20th. But we did get pricing for that. Huckabee worked with us to design those. And so we have pricing that came in at $490. And the next item is the Monahan and Royalwood restroom renovations. And the bid for this came in, IDG has been working with us on this, and the bid came in at $1.29 million. That's to renovate all of the student restrooms at Monahan and Royalwood. And here's the big cost. Royalwood was built before a law called ADA. So as soon as we go in, did y'all get it? Yeah. As soon as we touch the restrooms, we have to bring everything up to American with Disabilities Act. And there's a cost there. There's a big cost because we've got to go into CMU walls and change piping inside the walls. That's like concrete masonry, the block wall. We have to cut in, move things around because at Royalwood, there's not a handicap accessible restroom in every restroom. So if you're going to do that, you have to have a certain number of toilets and then you have to have certain ones that are so wide. And so some of that has to be moved. That building was built in like 1959, 1960, and it's not up to that code. Go ahead.
So what are we doing to make sure we're complying with ADA accommodation for students who need that?
So that would be what we're doing now. We're gonna redo those restrooms.
So right now, there's no ADA restroom?
There is one ADA restroom there.
Is that where the students are being directed when they need ADA accommodation?
Yeah. Yeah, or so there's the one that's on when you come in the building and you turn to the right behind the stage area, there's one there. So the kids can use that one. Or you have to direct them down to where the 2 adult restrooms are for the office, or further down when Royalwood expanded, okay? There's 2 restrooms there that they could use, or the cafeteria. Those restrooms are, but that cafeteria and the gym are separate buildings. So those were all brought up to ADA because they were built at the time. The original building is not.
When are we looking at starting the renovation for the bathroom specifically?
May 21st.
May 21st of this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if this passes, what we will do is we will automatically give them an NTP. They will start doing submittals, getting all of their stuff ready so that the first day that kids are out, they're moving in. At Monahan, the casework in the restrooms needs to completely be redone. It looks like we bought years and years ago, like we bought some casework, but that casework has served its purpose. So just needs to be upgraded, and there's some upgrades to the restroom. One of the other things that I just will tell you from parents, what I've heard, Monahan and Royalwood, the age and uric acid over time eats into their terrazzo. And that smell, trying to get that out is very difficult. So we're going to resurface the floors there also and go back in with an epoxy flooring, a seal. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll grind that down, seal it, and then come back with an epoxy flooring.
Are we still in session on May 21st?
So
It's school.
we're still in. So when you say start, what I'm saying is we're turning to whoever was the person, the contractor, and say, you have our permission to proceed. We are going to be processing a purchase order. You need to start ordering all your materials so that on May 30th, when kids leave that evening and the following day, which is a Saturday, you can start moving in all of your stuff. But we want you to have everything on hand that first day that kids are gone.
We can guarantee the project will be done over the summer.
We've already moved summer school to ensure that it is not going to be at Royalwood. It will not be at Monahan. So if this project is green lighted, we're ready. We have all of our construction documents going. So that one came in a little bit over where we thought, but the good news is that the King Davis Center came in under where we thought. So we had an OPC for that, and we were expecting that to be around 6, and we came in at about 4.5. And that was structure. I don't know them. I've never worked with them, but they have the lowest bid by about, well, the bids ranged from 4.5 to $6.2 million, and that was the lowest. And the points, they scored the lowest. I mean, they scored the highest number of points. We contacted Cyfair, and Cyfair gave them glowing recommendations, said absolutely, absolutely. We've been extremely happy with them. So that's that one. The next one is the Knoll Middle School turning lane. So the Knoll Middle School turning lane, when we built Knoll, I had to write kind of a promissory letter to Harris County saying we understand that we added a new wing, and that brings a higher capacity, and if we were to fill that building, that would increase traffic on Garrett. So so we did a traffic impact analysis, a TIA, and Harris County came back and said, you have to put in a turning lane. You are legally required to put in a turning lane. And, so we have to build the turning lane. Once we build the turning lane, then remember, we have to turn it over. We turn it over to the county. Because even though we're building it, it's going to become their property. We are responsible for maintenance until they take ownership of it. So that is there, and that's in your packet. The next one is the King High School restroom renovations. We were happy with where this came in. This is for the restrooms all through the high school that have the 2 entrances to each one. So we will close off one of those entrances so that the boys will access from one side, the girls will access from the other side, throughout the building. That came in at $390, and that can be done this summer too if we pass that May 20th. And one of the great things is, if you ever work in a school, you will realize schools never have enough storage. They just don't, okay? You're looking for places to store stuff, and this is gonna give us extra closets throughout the building because we're gonna be able to section this off. The other thing that it does is if a kid runs into a restroom and we happen to smell something or hear something, they can't run right out the other side, okay? The last one is King 9th and 10th grade campus interactive monitors. We were not planning to bring this to the board this early, but we want to get ahead of tariffs if they come. And so these monitors, these are the touch screens, just like this one. I think it's like this one. That will go in every single classroom at the 9th and 10th grade campus. So we're bringing that early because we want to go ahead and purchase those. So if tariffs do go in, we don't pay the upcharge. Because right now, we're looking at, in order to outfit every classroom in that building, including the LGI, the other areas, special ed, your fine arts rooms, your other rooms throughout the building, we're looking at $390. And what we don't want to do is to pay a 20% or 25% upcharge. So if we go ahead and get those now, let's lock that in, and then we're ready. Are there any questions on any of these items? You have 2 of the items in your packet. They were not in the board book because those bids just came in yesterday. So I wanted to make sure that you had those in your hands.
Have we worked with the contractors before?
So the contractor for, so the contractor for the generator and the backup is Millennium. We have worked with Millennium a number of times before. They built the storage building at the high school. There you go. But we've worked with them a number of times. We have a meeting with Montana from Millennium already set up because our concern is, and I'll just, I'll be absolutely honest with everybody. They had the best bid all the way through, but I have to make sure that they have the capacity to do all of the projects that they are assigned within the timeline. If you can't do all of those, then I got to find somebody else. Because I can't come back to you in August and say, we have to push the date of school back for a couple weeks. And I can't put up like, hey, I'm gonna buy some shower curtains and those are the dividers. We're not gonna do that. So I gotta make sure things are done. So I'm planning to work this summer.
Stop laughing, Ms. Martinez.
Okay.
And the other ones are, yes, we worked with them before as well.
Yes, everybody but Sterling Structures. So Pereno's our vendor that we use throughout the district to put in the interactive TVs in every classroom. So they're just doing the same thing. They know the process. And Millennium won the bids for the Monahan and Royalwood, the turning lane and the restroom renovations. Sterling Structures, we have not worked with them. But when we got our bids for that, there were Comex bid that one. We had 5 bids, but we had only worked with one of those companies before. I'm sorry, 2. We had worked with Nash and Millennium. We have not worked with Sterling or Prime or Comex, but they did all those 3 bid.
So I guess I'm trying to understand how did the new the new company we haven't worked with before beat the bid for the.
So
other
when
company worked with before.
Yeah, so on this one, the large majority was price. And so Sterling came in, their bid was 4.53 million, and the nearest bid was 4.9. So that was a 400,000. So in order for the other people to overcome the gap in price, they would have had to score much higher in other areas. And when we went through, the scoring rubric of have they done this type of work? Do they have the capacity? What's their, what they're showing? They were all very consistent, companies, very, very close. How much money they have for their, able to get for bonds, how much money they have each year that they're doing their projects, their similar work projects, all of those.
So they've demonstrated quality work before.
Yes, and that's why we had not used them before, so we had checked the references, but then we actually talked directly. Sci-Fair has worked with them, and so we made a call because we were concerned, like, wait a minute, are we sure, here? And so we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence before we ever brought this to you.
When is that date that they're gonna, start on that?
So,
I know you said May 21st.
so our goal is that when school is done, we will start all of the projects. So we do not have summer school at the 9th grade. The high school, Dr. Stewart and I have already talked about, we're gonna keep summer school in this section, and we're gonna work on the restrooms here. And as soon as this is done and the kids are out, we can move on back. So if we start, for instance, at the early college and the STEM areas, we finish those, we come back to the other academies and work here so that when STEM and early college bridge camp runs before school starts, we're already done.
So we're not moving, once kids are in the building for their summer school program, remember, summer school at the high school is very short. And so they'll be in their area. We're not moving them for the accounting construction. We just won't get to the area where they are until they're actually done with summer school. So it's not gonna be a inconvenience for the students.
Well, that wasn't my concern. I just like to keep up with the dates, so when you say we're gonna start.
And we're looking at 6-day work weeks in our contract that we've already started, right? We have our contracts ready to go. So we'll be on a 6-day work week throughout the summer, and then next fall, or later in the summer, I should say in June, we're gonna be bringing a few more items. We have, what's in June?
We've got the,
So
training room offices at Bob.
Yeah.
We got the
CTE fencing we have to put in around that area where those roll-up gates are, because if kids are working on cars and those gates are up, they're in a completely open area, and that goes back to our security audit. Now, we're still looking at that, and Dr. Dearman and I are gonna be talking to see, like, looking at the legislature, if there's any additional security money that might be able to help with that project. So we'll look at that. And then the next big one that we'll be coming down to is looking at our building automation systems for our HVAC. That was part of the bond in our facility sustainment. That was a very particular item. And that's the first areas that we'll start will be King 9, King Middle, and our central plant over there at the Crenshaw plant area. And we'll be doing that in 3 phases. And we've already lined that out, and we're working through all of those construction documents with IDG, and those construction documents are at 95%. So they are expected to be back into the district next week with 100%. Okay? Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
The generator for the 9th grade campus, once we occupy the new campus, 9th and 10th grade, will that campus still be required by the fire marshal to have a generator? Or is it because we're occupying with students?
So well, yes and no. There will be a gap where it may not be, but remember, the goal is that we're gonna move the early learning center over, and so it would.
Because of the early learning center.
And because of Case.
Case is not moving either.
See, and we talked to them, because I was like, the kids never left, Case was always there. They're like, no, now it's a student building. We're like, well, Case was there, but Case will be there and the early learning.
So it doesn't matter the enrollment that we have at the campus, it's just that we have students.
We have students.
Requires the generator.
Sorry.
I would say we can postpone it a year. Paperwork.
Well, and we have really tried to,
Well, All the fire-
postponed. I wouldn't say we purposely tried to postpone it, but we
Yeah.
haven't been able to get everything done, and so it's taken some time. And I think that they've given us as much grace as they want to give us.
We lost some time with that one, so, yeah, time is running out, so.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Release of 2023 accountability. As Mr. Duenas is coming up, Lord, if you can remember, the district decided to enter into the lawsuit against the commissioner regarding the 2023 accountability and its standards not being handled properly for school districts, pretty much rating us on students' achievement after the game had already been played. Well, as a result, a few weeks ago, accountability was released. And so we wanted to explain to you in greater detail what that accountability released information was for Sheldon ISD. So Mr. Duenas.
Excuse me.
Good, so let's get started. I think you have the handout in your folders. You're more than welcome to follow the presentation as I go along, or you could just simply watch the screen. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is why. So exactly what Dr. McCall just stated, it was just a couple of weeks that the state of Texas officially released the 2023 accountability results. And you're probably thinking, what in the world? That happened 2 years ago. Why are we just talking about 2023? I thought we just finished up 2025 assessment, and that is correct. And the reason being is because of this lawsuit. So we were part of the lawsuit, and part of the lawsuit really stated the fact that we felt that the state of Texas wasn't playing the game correctly or fairly. I always use this analogy. It's probably the best analogy to explain what happened. So during the 2022-2023 school year, the commissioner decided to change the rules and the regulations for accountability. It's similar to having the commissioner of the NBA in the middle of the NBA season saying, you know what, we're going to change it. From now on, all those 3-pointers, they're only going to be worth 1 point. That's basically what he did. So by definition, mathematically speaking, everybody, and I do mean every single district and every single school in the state of Texas, well, their performance is going to drop because you're just taking points away. And so that's what we were alleging. But the ratings are officially out in texasschool.gov, so people at large, the public at large, can see exactly what the performance is. We also are still waiting, believe it or not, still waiting for the 2024 accountability results. But mind you, we finished 2025 assessment. We're waiting for that to be graded. So we're hoping that we can get the 2024 before we get the 2025. Needless to say, the only thing we have right now is the 2023. The 2024, obviously, we're expecting the 2025 results to come out sometime in August. So that's kind of like the timeline. It lets you know what's going on and the reasoning behind it. Now, this is what you want to know. Well, what did we score? Well, we scored a 73. You may remember that back in 22, we did have an 82. We were very proud of that. We worked really, really hard. A lot of growth. We are at 73, but you have to keep in mind exactly what I told you. The ratings have changed, the methodology changed. I did put into you a little bit in perspective, right? So let's put this in perspective so we understand exactly what we're talking about. So what I did is I took all the raw data from 2023 and I used the same methodology that was used in 2022, the previous year. What was the score? The score would have been 83. That's actually 1 point higher than 2022. So that's good for us to know because yes, they do change the rules. The public at large doesn't fully understand that, but I want to make sure that our board members fully understand exactly what happened and how that came to be. So let's go over this whole idea that I'm talking about. So what exactly happened in 2023 as far as the accountability? What changed? Well, the first thing that changed, going back to my analogy, if you take CCMR, I'm just going to take one data point. Well, that data point happens to be about 60% of the district's final accountability letter grade. CCMR from 2018 to 2022, you needed 60% of your students graduating to be able to have at least one college, career, or military ready point. 60%, that would give you an A. When they changed the rules in 2023, in the middle of the season, when the kids had already graduated, we can't go back in time and do anything about it. They changed it from a 60 to an 88. So think about that for a moment. By definition, everything is going to drop, and that's exactly what happened. So it actually worse than it sounds, because there's a second thing that they did. In 2023, the state of Texas implemented what we call STAR 2.0. So when STAR started, it was a lot, maybe not as rigorous, if you will, but they made a lot of changes. And those are the changes that they made. But what I did for you is I gave you specific examples. Because I can talk to you about it, it won't make much sense. I'd rather you look at it. So here's an example. This is a third grade real STAR test assessment. Third grade, mind you, these kids are 8 years old. On the left-hand side, you have a STAR 1.0, what it used to be. Basically, it's a comprehension question of a passage a student is supposed to read, and the question asks some understanding, and the kids as students are given multiple choice. Well, what does that look like on a STAR 2.0? STAR 2.0, you have a passage, you have a comprehension question, but now the students are required to type an entire paragraph, extended construction response. Think about it. These are 8-year-old students who can't even type, having to try to come up what is the main idea or the purpose of that question and having to type in on their computers. Much harder scale to be able to do that. Exactly. That was reading. What does math look like? Well, here's another example. Third grade question. Students are given a table, a data set. They need to take that data set and convert it into a pictorial graph. They're given A, B, C, and D. That's STAR 1.0. But what does STAR 2.0 look like? Well, now the students have to convert a pictorial graph with their computers, having to drag the images and begin to shade the different half circles that you see there so that the data matches the data table that they're given. It is so easy for us as adults not to be able to grab, click, hold, bring it down, drop it here. That's hard for us as adults. Can you imagine 8-year-olds having to do that? Well, that's what our kids faced back in 2023. By definition, of course, our accountability dropped. It is good to know that if we run the same way, the numbers with the same methodology from 2022, we were at 83. What's that?
Don't embarrass yourself, Tim. You get it wrong. I'm gonna let you forget it. Right, don't do it.
So let me stop there. Any questions about what happened in 2023? It's important for us to understand the public at large doesn't really understand how two things change so much. Not only the expectation going from a 60 to an 88, but also the test itself. That is why it, across the state of Texas, districts and campuses dropped their performance. Any questions about that?
I know our
Go ahead.
question. Our overall letter is a C, is that right?
That is correct. So a 70, yes. So officially we are a C. Let's go back here. 73 is a C.
So is there any campuses that were Ds, like at the campus level?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a number that you have in mind of how many of those campuses are at D?
Yes, we had the middle schools were Ds. Monahan was a D, and so was Gary. Good question. So what I did here is I gave you, data is only as good as you can compare it to another data point. So let's benchmark it. I'll let you look at that. This is how the different districts perform. 2023, all around us, you can see where they're at and what their letter grade was. So I went ahead and put the letter grade. So that's it. Any specific questions that you may have about accountability? I do have a celebration though. Even though we face all those obstacles and challenges, we're very proud to say that 4 of our campuses earned distinctions. But what is a distinction? The way that distinctions works, the state of Texas groups our campuses with other campuses, 40 other campuses across the state that are very similar, economically disadvantaged, very similar in their population, as similar as possible to see how they perform and be able to compare campuses to the best of their ability, apples to apples. When they did that, we did find out that Sheldon Elementary won a distinction in science. Boylewood won a distinction in mathematics. Carroll Elementary won a distinction in closing the gaps, which is really fantastic. And the high school won 2 distinctions. They won a distinction in growth and a distinction in closing the gaps. Closing the gaps is getting the different subpopulations to begin to perform more alike and being able to raise the bar for everybody. So we're very proud of that. It was a very tough year. We were facing lots of obstacles. We were facing lots of changing in the accountability methodology, but yet a lot of our campuses still perform quite well.
Well, and to kind of shed some light too, as they rolled out STAR 2.0, there were item types that we were scrambling to, because we were not getting them until December and January in many cases. We were scrambling, trying to identify the best instructional strategies as they slowly released what that was going to be. Because as you can see, if I'm traditionally, especially if I'm A, and I've been used to seeing a multiple choice test where I put a C, and now you have me doing drag and drops and shades. I have to get the opportunity to play with that multiple times in an instructional setting to be successful at it. So even then, the window became tighter and tighter to roll out the instructional programming and to catch up, because they leaked it. And we had some advanced previews to give us a head start, because we started working on it as quickly as we got stuff. But it was a year of change. And as Mr. Duenas said, the 2023 is based on class of 2022's graduation for CCMR. Those kids have been graduating. Right? There literally is no way to make any profound difference. And the group of kids who are in the building that same year, because graduation is a decision that we start working on with kids in the 8th grade. And so it's just really important to paint a picture of this was a statewide concern throughout the entire year.
I do want to point out something else. When you're looking at the accountability for school districts that look like ours, you know, we were a 73 and the district earned 5 distinctions. But I want to point out that, you know, under the previous accountability system, you know, there were times when the district scored above a 73, very far above a 73, but may not have earned 5 distinctions. And so what I'm sharing that information with you all for is for you to understand that districts that look like ours really struggled with this. They really struggled with it. And across the state, not just in the Houston area, I know Mr. Duenas put the Houston area, many of the districts that have similar demographics to us were D and F districts. They were D and F districts. And so there is a big fight going on to say, how fair is this accountability system to districts where we have students that, you know, have a high socioeconomically disadvantaged population. We're not going to, you know, rest on this. There have been a lot of changes to how we provide instruction and support and monitor student achievement and data. Since then, we are more familiar with what STAR 2.0 is, because now we're in the 2nd year of it. Well, now the 3rd year of it, but the 2nd year of really being informed about what it is. I say kudos to the team even before coming back to the district, but most definitely since being here. We're on our way to meeting that 88% threshold for CCMR, which carries a lot of weight in our accountability, because prior to that, this district was acing that particular indicator. And so we've already made some adjustments to what we need to do to get the district back to where it was, even in a harder accountability system. But this is just where the district was at that particular time.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a question. How many of these other districts are part of the lawsuit? Do we know?
Good question. I know we were part of the lawsuit.
We were part of the lawsuit. Go back to that list. I'll be able to tell you. Crosby joined the lawsuit. Channelview joined the lawsuit. I was in Goose Creek, and so I know that during that time that district joined the lawsuit. Galena Park joined the lawsuit. I do not know about Aldine or Spring. I believe Aldine did not. Huffman did. And that's all I know of. I'm pretty sure Houston did not, because, you know, their superintendent was, yeah, but.
Also, on the STAR 2.0, they changed the accommodations that you could have. For our students with IEPs, they changed that completely. So that was a big thing.
For many students too, the accountability ruling changed for the type of testing they're able to take.
Right.
And so students, there were students who were taking much more difficult test, irregardless of their disability.
Right.
Yes, start out and also.
I feel that it came from so many angles we were being attacked. So that's where we're at. So yeah.
And I guess we have to keep in mind the climate that we're in. And I hope that, which I know you guys are doing a great job of staying proactive instead of reactive. I want to say thank y'all for informing us when y'all did and including us in the lawsuit. I just think it's a misfortune and we have to go through this and the children suffer. But I know you did give us some statistics on how well we did with a couple of other districts locally with being, just almost broke and just making it work.
Exactly.
So I want to make sure I put that on record that I want to say thank you guys for working hard in that area as well. And, just supporting our kids day in and day out to at least get us here. Because we all know the elephant in the room with the situation is, and just for us to keep jumping over those hurdles as a team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, fund balance review.
So with the data we have now for 22, I expect the new data to start being released pretty regularly.
Yeah, we still don't know what now remember, there was another lawsuit for the year 2024, and so we don't know what that's looking like. We didn't join that one. There was a smaller subset of school districts that joined that because they found out that the state was using artificial intelligence to rate tests.
And so as the cabinet improvement plans now that we have this data and information, how will that affect those and when? If it's going to be this year or next year as we start to look at those for the cabinet improvement campuses that didn't do as well.
Right.
And then, and even with the accountability, I mean, you still put it off as we all experienced with COVID and then the remote learning I don't think that we're still caught up with that with those students that were out of school. You know, we've anticipated it taking 4 to 5 years for those kids to catch up. And this was 2 years after. So that's another, but and we can all say and say, yeah, this is why. But at the end of the day, it's just an excuse that we use for everybody. I mean, it is, you know, and I know kind of just going off on like the vouchers, if we do a good job of educating our kids, I got no fear of anybody going anywhere. We provide a good product, people are going to stay. And that's our goal. I know that's your goal. I know that's our all, you know, the goal that we all have as a group. And so that's, I think, you know, we get caught up in this obviously because that's what we get graded on. That's what the accountability and it's just, you know, but anyway, I think we just stay that focus like we have been and just educating our kids the way they should be.
Right.
We're going to be fine. You know, we have a lot of programs. We have great administration, great educators. You know, if this was the best district to work for, we'd be beating them off with a stick. I know we're not the best, but you know, we work hard. You guys work hard to make us as good as we can possibly be for the tools that we have. And I appreciate that also. But at the same time, you know, it's just let's just continue doing what we're doing and be good at it. Our kids are going to stay and they're going to learn. They're going to.
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you for that, and I will give kudos to, you know, Mr. Duenas and the work that he has done. You know, he was able to hand calculate based on where he thought we would be, even though the state didn't release anything. So when we were talking about the district and the campus improvement plans, we just continued to move with the data that we had. We didn't wait for the state to tell us where we were going to be. We started making plans, strategic planning last year. All of those things were as a result of where we kind of anticipated we would be.
The Payne's report will come out, and that's going to give us a lot of very intricate data.
Right. Every year it does.
Every year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duenas. All right, Mr. George is next to talk about fund balance review and compensation. I will say that we have been going around to campuses, kind of giving our end of the year presentations, what to expect over the summer. And so this has been an area where we've touched on, you know, what the board is potentially considering, but unlike in previous years, we weren't able to definitively say this is what the board is looking to do. So Mr. George is bringing back an update based on some new information.
All right, if you'll recall at the last board workshop, Google board workshop, I presented information on the fund balance review and the compensation adjustment for 25-26. At that point, we said, we have the legislative session going on, and there may be some changes on the funding for the 25-26 budget year. So based on that, if you look at the second page, so I'm going to start with the last line there, 2026. The last meeting I said, $4.8 million from the fund balance the expenses for next year. Then we will be down to 31.6 million in fund balance. However, the new funding possibly approved by the legislature, that's going to change. So that's why I'm going to cross out that last one. So possibly if you get to the next slide, possibly there will be an increase of $395 for the basic allotment. That means on the regular program allocation, we're going to get another $3.5 billion. And possibly special education, another $1 million. State combat, another $1 million. All these are rounded numbers. And the three major programs, bilingual, CTE, and early education, $1 million, total of $6.5 million in the works. So this has been approved by the House, but has to be approved by the Senate at some point. But again, this is not the final number, so that's why we are kind of struggling with it at this point. But we would like to present the information to the board. On the next slide, at the last meeting, I presented the current law information, that is the current law column there. If you look at the bottom line, net use of fund balance, that was the $4.8 million I was striking out at the first slide. Now, with the SB2, if it is approved, so we're going to get additional state revenue of $6.5 million, and the total revenue for the district is going to be $133.9 million, with some excess money for next year, always. So that's the funding we can use for either raise or for additional spending.
Mr. George, now that excludes what could possibly come to us for teacher raises, whatever that means. They hadn't quite ironed that out yet. So there's another line item in House Bill 2 that deals with teacher raises.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of a, tug of war about what does that mean? Yeah.
So currently we have better news that we had last time. So we'd like to share the information with the board. And on the next slide, what I have there is everything that I presented last time was up to column 3, was estimated for option 3. And Dr. McCall asked me to add option 4 with a possible 750 retention stipend plus 1% raise for all, with a total cost of $2.1 million approximately. So with that, option 4, our beginning teacher pay would be $65,500. Currently, we are at $65,000. Teacher with 1 year experience would be $65,650, and auxiliary employee would be $26 per hour. That's what we are looking at as option 4. So
that's where we are at this point, so I don't have a recommendation for tonight, but I can give my recommendations after the meeting, based on the directions. But
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Going to the projected, budget
Mhm.
under A, just curious, with the tax revenue, with the penalties and interest. I see it's like 1.5 currently.
Mhm.
Um, how much of that can we are looking forward to getting, or how do we recoup that money back?
Ms. White, we have a good collection rate. We have 97 to 98% collection rate.
Mhm.
So on the delinquent, some of them may be on NOC.
Okay,
So depending on what the outcome is, we still collect.
okay,
I would say about 50% of the delinquent.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have good collection rate on the current taxes.
Okay, just curious,
Yeah.
I didn't know with that, if that was a good number.
Yeah. And again, I would say about 70% of our tax base is industrial.
Yeah.
So they pay
Yeah,
unless there's a loss required.
right, okay. And then for SHARs, did they give out any more information on SHARs, if they're gonna, when they looking to stop it, or change, any changes? Because I know that's supposed to be coming too.
The state is still holding back.
They're holding on it, okay.
Any other questions, Bob?
What's best case scenario that option 4 would still put us dipping into fund balance?
Yeah, about 400,000. Yeah. It's much better than $4 million.
Well, yeah, after last year,
Yeah.
6 million the year before, so we're down $9 million out of fund balance. This will be recommendation for May. That's what that means.
Okay, good, once upon a time, be a little bit more there. We won't always looking out for the little man.
No, no. I appreciate that.
You are nowhere near the little man. Yeah, you- And my parents. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. George. All right, next we will have, are you doing Skyward or are you doing both Skyward and special education? Okay, all right. Well, special education, Dr. Stewart.
There you go. Once again, we want to just kind of share with you guys a big thank you though, because last year about this same time in the workshops, we were talking about our special education contracts. Because we were able to get ahead on our special education contracts, we were actually able to start with all of ours July 1. There are some benefits to us being in July 1 budget as well, because it does allow us to get first come, first served when it comes to contract services. Just to share with you guys as well too, we have been able to make some hires. So we are actually reducing some of our contract amounts, even though the contracted services in some cases per employee have gone up. But HR this year sent us with some intent to hire letters when we went to the state conference, and we were actually able to get some folks hired at the speech language pathology conference. So we are super excited, and we've actually made another connection with U of H. Our candidates who are coming are enjoying, and so they want to get more of their service hours with us, which ultimately, hopefully, will help us reduce some of the contracts. Each one of these contracts that we're sharing with you tonight, because we're going to go through them, I just want you guys to know, they are an up to cost, and we don't always spend all of the funding. Typically, when we have to come back to you, it's because there's been a position that's been unfilled. So it's funding that's already budgeted, So we move those funds over as we collapse out some of those salaries as we add. So when we come to add for you, we're not adding to the overall. We're coming to say we need to go with this contract. So these contracts all reflect where our current services are going to be for next year with an anticipation of what we've had to slightly increase over the last couple of years as a percentage. That way we won't have to necessarily come back to you if we get a larger group of kids who need those services as we start the school year. Okay. So we've been trying to anticipate, trying to stay ahead of the game. So just to give you a number, about 551 students, give or take. We still have some testing that's being done. We are almost always testing year round here in Sheldon ISD because we want to make sure that we always meet our timeline. But what we're looking at first is Siegel. So Siegel, what they give us is real nice access to quite a bit of professional development. And they also give us staff who provide services directly to our students in terms of speech language pathology services. Okay? A lot of these you're going to see are going to be directly related to speech because of the requirement of the students to get those speech services. What we have been able to see, though, is that our students are responding to the speech services. So some of these are going to be to get us going through the summer, as well as during the school year, and some of it even during our ES1. So we just want to make sure that we're meeting all those needs. Now, this is our second year utilizing Siegel Ventures. As we go into next year, it will be our third year. So we have had 2 years with Siegel Ventures. And one of the nicest things with them is we do get to interview all the staff. We make sure that they fit our district before they come. Because of our July 1 and us working with them, they will be able to continue using the same staff that we're currently using with Siegel Ventures. So the next one is First Choice. Our First Choice is really giving us an LSSP and an SLP. Now, those are really, really critical right now because, again, these are the same 2 staff members who have been working with our students, our same 3 staff members, I'm sorry, who have been working with our students since last school year. You'll see that slight increase because we've also been able to do a small bit of contracted work with them for bilingual services as needed, especially when it comes to testing. So they have been one of the better companies for us to be able to actually access some bilingual testers. And they actually facilitate that with our families and will come on the weekends. So that has been a benefit as well. So First Choice, this is, we've been with First Choice, I want to say for 3 years now. And the nicest part for them is it's just a slight increase, okay? And they also participate in our ARDs when we need them to. So they show up to the ARD and share with the families the services that they provide. And they've done an excellent job. Olive Branch. So Olive Branch is really neat because Olive Branch provides some professional development and service providers with us. Olive Branch is a local company. We're in our second year this year with them. We'll be going into our third year, of course, next year if the contract is approved. You will see a reduction in their services. This year, we needed more of their services to kind of work with families and help kind of be that nice buffer when there were a contentious question about the services, just to make sure that they could see someone who is, they're not our employee, being able to explain the state of Texas rules, the IDEA rules, and that the services that their students are receiving are really good services, as well as quite a bit of professional development. The neatest piece, though, is a lot of the work that we do, we take the TASB workload to identify the services per worker that we need overall at each campus and throughout the district. But even neater is they have a data tool that we get access to that actually, as we fill out those services and students are moving along, it helps us predict what are we going to need in the future. So as students are making progress and their goals change and they need more of one service and less of another, it gives us a predictory. So we can kind of say, okay, next month, 2 months down the line, this is the amount of hours they should have. Send it out to their case manager and their case manager says, so it's a really neat process. They provide that from us and it's always ongoing. And it's really neat because we were one of the first districts that Olive Branch rolled that out, but it's been very successful. And it is a reduction in cost, about $20,000. LaserWorks. So LaserWorks has been that kind of concierge service that we've been utilizing the last couple of years. They really are one of those services that give us direct pipeline to the professionals, and they'll call around for you. So that is another thing that's kind of nice. It's concierge. So we say, hey, we're looking for individuals doing this service or that service. And sometimes we have occupational therapy or things of that nature that are really unique to the student's needs. We may not have someone on staff, and we may not need them long. So we go out with them, and what they end up doing is calling around and contracting those services through them for us. Again, the sooner we start with LaserWorks, the more likely we're going to get the preferential treatment when we get their staff members. But they have no increase in cost. They have no increase in cost. And so they're going to stay the same. They realize that we really like what we're doing with them. So this will be year 4. we're in year 4, we go into year 5 with them. Contract. And again, they do a lot of LSSP and SLP work, a lot. And then Mickey. So Mickey is another local company. Mickey, they're one of the companies that actually help us with a lot of testing and evaluation. Matter of fact, when we need someone in the summer, because we have a family moving in and we're trying to identify the exact services, they're usually the people that we reach out to if we don't have a staff member who can accommodate us. And they have come through every time, even Mickey, the actual owner company. She has actually come out and tested some of our students. So they're a really, really good company. And what we've been able to find with them is they really do, they kind of have a specialty in being able to identify students who have ADHD and emotional disturbance, as well as some IED, and then being able to provide wraparound services when they meet several qualifications. And that is not easy to do. It's not easy to find. And they also give us school psychologists as well, access directly to school psychologists who can actually come in and work with the students on their level. Because again, it's always difficult when you have 4 or 5 students who need that, to necessarily have someone on staff. If they have people on staff, we directly call and say, hey, we have a student who has a need, and they help provide it. And we do have students who all the way through the last day of school will receive that service. They literally will receive it all the way through the last day of school, and they will help give us a contracted staff member come in through ESY. So Mickey's it's been just a real blessing to have them on our team, and it's a partnership. And we have a big reduction from them though this year. It's a very big reduction. It's not because we're not happy with their services. It's just because we've been able to hire some speech folks. This is one of those contracts that we said we'll go with what the ADHD and the emotional disturbance, and we'll lower that contract a little bit, shift those funds to go into the salaries. So that's why you see a reduction. And then therapeutic. The therapeutic gives us access to occupational therapists. This is really their bread and butter. They make sure that all of our students who need occupational therapy, that they get it, as well as assisting us with making sure they're trained for all the mnemonic devices, all the therapeutic devices, keeping us, when we order certain things, they'll come out, help make sure that those things continue to work for us. If there are types of machinery that we don't necessarily have on staff or we're waiting to order, they will loan it to us. So we just get a lot from therapeutic. They have a very strong reputation, and we just really enjoy. Now, we've been with them for several years, off and on, and then currently we've been in a 2-year contract. This is our 2nd year with them, and then next year will be the 3rd year. Because again, as students need the services, that's how we contract the services. So when we have students who don't need it, we can provide it. We did have a part-time occupational therapist who has decided to retire. And so we are now in the position to where they're going into clinical. So now we're in the position, we're going to have to go back with them again, but it's the same cost. It's the same cost based on services. So it's $85,000. No changeover. So all in all, we're saving about $51,000 from our contracted services that we focused on this year. And then of course, it's an up to. So we get billed with most of these as we use them, but we anticipate if our needs are this year and we still haven't gone through the whole hiring season, this lets us get started and we know that we can work with it. As we hire people, though, we reduce those contract needs, and we then turn that over into 65. Any questions? All of these are companies that we've been working with, as you can tell, for years. Any questions?
Last report deals with Skyward Student Management.
This is an easy one. This is Skyward. This is just a renewal. It gives you the bottom line at the bottom, but it tells you exactly itemized what cost and what the cost is for each one of those things. It's extremely important. We use this for everything, for attendance, for grade books, for absolutely everything. So here's the information for you, and we'll ask for that approval. Any questions about Skyward? Perfecto. Thank you.
All right, Madam President, that concludes our reports and discussions.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to comments. Ms. Sandy, do we have any comments from the public? Okay, we'll move on to new business, item A. Can we get a recommendation on item A?
Madam President, consider the recommendation to my new trustee and board secretary, Kristen Williams, White as a candidate for the Region 4 position CC on the TASB board, with a copy to be attached to become a part of the minutes.
Motion by Ms. Kristen Williams White. second by Mr. Darius Provost Evans. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Two. All opposed?
Wait a minute, hold on. Can you read, wait a minute, y'all, I'm sorry. Are we able to discuss this or no?
I said any comments or questions you can, if you would like to.
Yeah, because I wasn't here when y'all went over the, proposal.
We didn't do a proposal. We didn't do a
Oh, yeah,
proposal.
Nomination.
No,
Oh, so this is just a nomination?
that's just a nomination.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, do we need to reread it again? Okay, redo your,
Madam President.
No, we don't need to review. We have a motion and a second already.
okay,
We're
so,
already
okay,
we just vote now.
okay, all in,
That's on the record.
okay, all in favor? Okay, because I just saw, because she had a question. All in
Yeah.
favor? All opposed? So there, and one abstain?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have three. We have, 3, 4. Three, we have three, and we have one abstain.
Huh?
So if
No, motion does not pass.
the motion does not pass. Okay.
Okay, so, can I ask a question now, or do I have to wait till you say ask a question?
Well,
That's what I'm asking.
well, the motion is over. I already asked,
Oh,
you asked the
okay.
question already. So we'll move on to. That's maybe she- Okay. Okay, so we'll move. So we move on to item 7, board information. You all can stop me if you have any questions on board information. The DAEP contract with not Hope, excuse me, y'all, with HCDE, B, monthly discipline report, C, Millennial Project Solution to provide installation of the on-site emergency generator for the CE King 9th grade campus. D, Millennial Project Solutions to provide the installation of backup power for MDF/IDF rooms at CE King High School. E, construction services for Monahan and Roywood restrooms renovation. F, Sterling Structure and Company for REP number 2024-019 CSP for contract services for the Dr. King Davis Jr. Construction services for the Dr. King R. Davis Jr. Educational Support Center. Yes.
Just saying.
G, Millennium Project Solutions for the construction of turning lanes for access to Knoll Middle School. H, construction services for the CE King for KHS restroom renovation. And I, help me with that word, I can't say that word, Pereno Consulting to provide interactive Clever touch flat panels for the new CE King 9th and 10th grade campus. We need to go into closed session, Dr. Davis? Okay. Adjourn to closed session, pertinent to Texas Government Code Section 551072 to discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value to real properties 551074 for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer, employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee, and 551 8.076 for considering the deployment specific occasion for or implementation of security personnel or device. We will adjourn to closed session at 8:25.
2025.
We want to let you all know that's a long meeting. That's our last meeting of the school year, so typically we have lots of celebration, things like that, so just want
My Lord. No. Okay. But, yeah. Okay, the other necessary business, item B, we have Memorial Day, Memorial Holiday. That's May 26th, 2025. And last but certainly not least, we have a senior high school class of 2025 graduation June 1st at 3 p.m. at the NRG Stadium.
you get all your credentials at the May 20th board meeting, so that way you have a less chance of losing them.
June 11th through 14th. And item 13, any board suggestions, recommendations for future organizational information updates?
I have a question. Do we have a program for vehicles that pass buses as they are loading up at the stop signs?
Program?
That they can report the vehicle license plates or something like that.
Yeah. And if you have me standing there, right, that's
If not, it's just
Like an anonymous type of.
No, the bus driver has a camera, we have cameras on the buses, and if they're passing, I don't know if we have a system like that, or,
We report.
so,
Yeah.
and to issue tickets for the law enforcement, so just
Oh.
either food for thought or.
Oh, absolutely. Our constables will track them down based on the bus cameras and go.
Oh, so we have bus cameras that.
Yes.
Do that, and then it gets reported.
Right.
Even if a parent has a picture of it, the day and time of the.
There you go, problem solved.
all right, good. All right. All right, any more? All right, then we will adjourn at 9:04 p.m.
I sent a Teams message out, I'm sure. Check your email box.
Thank y'all for 2 nights in a row.